Thanks for coming once again to all of you members of the press here. We appreciate it, like always, when we try not to call upon you very often. When we do, we think it's important enough to do it, so we appreciate the fact that you're responsive to that. Part of today is want to provide you information on what we think is a very significant activity that happened in our not necessarily in the McAllen area, but not necessarily just in McAllen. We know that we have had activity that is connected well outside McAllen. So this activity that's been going on here the last few days has impacted more than McAllen. But part of this is always to get some information out so that we can fill the information void. So we thank you very much for being here. And I'll start with this. Over the weekend, some suspicious activity apparently was occurring at various area ATMs. That information started reaching us by Monday afternoon. Okay, and the suspicious activity was this. One, that we had reports of multiple ATMs that were essentially emptied out. In other words, more than the usual activity had been experienced at those ATMs over the weekend, to the point that the ATMs were essentially emptied out of money. That drew their attention. They called us. We looked at it, and what we began to see was repetitive withdrawals of money to the point to where those ATMs were empty. So obviously, we had a report of suspicious activity out there. That activity apparently began over the weekend, and we believe occurred all the way through yesterday. Now, in beginning to look at some of the ATMs and some of the activity around these ATMs, we developed a lead on a particular vehicle. That particular vehicle is the vehicle that you see here, this Mountaineer right here. Now, this is a better picture of it. This is actually at one of the ATMs, but this is not the picture we used to develop that lead. The lead that we had was a far less in quality types picture that we had to work with. But nonetheless, this is the one suspicious vehicle that we thought might be involved in the suspicious activity that had been reported to us. Based upon that, this particular vehicle was detected yesterday again at another ATM by members of what we call our Property Crimes Bureau. These guys at the Property Crimes Bureau, headed by Captain Alcocer, Captain Luna over the last few days, and investigators Ramirez and get all the right names here. I know we got. But we got the sergeants. The whole bureau has been working really hard on this over the last 3 days since Monday. And one of the investigators yesterday on the way home spotted the particular vehicle at one of the ATMs. That triggered the set of activities that ultimately resulted in the arrest of 2 people. These 2 folks up here have been arrested and are in custody today. Now. The activity that was reported yesterday was at the International Bank here at 23rd and Quince. That's where this particular vehicle was located, and thereafter, this person was located in that vehicle. And upon pursuing that investigation, we found some of the suspicious credit card material on him. He has then led us to suspect number 2 at a local motel, and there we found the product by which they were emptying out basically ATMs in McAllen. Now, we have these 2 people in custody. This is the one vehicle that was used. This is them in actually transacting one of the fraudulent activities at one of the ATMs. We're looking for suspect number 3. There's a warrant, a federal warrant out for this particular suspect at this point in time. This is a picture of them during part of one of the activities that resulted in some of the activities at some of the ATMs. Okay, so following the detection of this vehicle yesterday, the apprehension of suspect number 1, the subsequent arrest of suspect number 2. After that, we were able to recover about a little bit over $210,000 in cash. We also have another $50,000 or so in credit cards and assets like that were also seized and recovered yesterday. We don't believe that's all of the cash that has been a product of this. We think there is more to this. But more importantly, we recovered all of these, close to 1,000 already produced fraudulent cards, and the blanks that we're using for that production of fraudulent cards. We think that the database for the accounts and PIN numbers is in these computers and these hard drives. This was in their possession. These are the actual card production equipment that they were using. You can tell from this here, there's a blank card right here. You insert it, you connect it up to your computer, you plug in the information, and you'll get one of these up here. So these folks, based upon our initial assessment of this, and based upon people in the banking industry, and based upon we're working this jointly with the U.S. Secret Service. That collective analysis right now is that these guys were doing something not seen before. Very, very sophisticated, and some people have called this pretty much on leading edge stuff that they were involved in. They're all from Mexico. The base seems to be Monterrey. These two suspects are in custody. They face federal charges. We're looking for suspect number 3. These two suspects are cooperating with authorities at this point in time, and the investigation will continue. This is a very massive investigation, as you can tell. We were very fortunate to be able to detect it and make the arrest. The arrest was a result of just good hard work by our investigators. All the supervisors are here, as you can tell, and the legwork's gone on almost nonstop the last few days. And basically, what led us to that was one vehicle, and that vehicle is right here. So, with that said, I'll take your questions.
Were they operating just here in the valley, or where?
Well, there's some indications that they reach far beyond the valley, but the mother lode, if you will, is in these computers and these hard drives, and we're not in there yet. But we have indications by some of the paper trails that we have that they've been in other than the valley areas. Okay. Now, another point I think that's important is to say, the ATMs have been throughout the valley. There isn't one ATM or the other. They've been throughout the valley. The accounts for which they appear to have information on, for the largest part, seem to be Mexican accounts. If you can tell by Banamex Visa, Banorte, the bulk of the accounts they were tapping into, and in the process drying up the ATMs, appear to be Mexican-based accounts. Questions? Yes,
Spanish?
Juanita.
How much money have they gotten so far?
Obviously we don't know the exact amount. That is going to be determined later once an inventory of all the transactions at the various ATMs is conducted. But we have seized over 200,000 in cash. This is what you see here. We think that's a fairly good portion of what was taken, but we don't know that. We don't know just how much exactly was been taken. We won't know that until a complete inventory is done. Questions?
Are these related to the same robberies on Westaco?
No, no.
Okay, ¿estamos hablando?
Sí. Questions? Let me get the English part of this first. Then we'll do French, and then we'll do Spanish. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Any other questions? So, as you can tell, this is a very sophisticated operation. It appears to be based in Monterrey, based upon the information that the suspects are providing us, based upon some of the information we know about the suspects. They seem to be based in Monterrey. Right now, it appears that they were in possession of a load of bank accounts and PIN numbers, and they were using that in a local motel. They set up shop, and they were producing these cards, and then simply going to ATMs and drawing, and basically hitting those bank accounts, and in the process emptying out the local ATMs, which is what drew what drew attention to all this is the fact that ATMs were unusually busy over the weekend, because the victims on this thing may not be known for some time. They may not know they're victims until later. So it isn't like a victim called and said somebody went into the bank. That's not happening. What the flag was when banking officials in our area noticed too much activity at particular ATMs. And when we looked at that, we saw many repetitive draws for long periods of time. Those were the flags. And that's what drew us to this right here.
Does it seem that they're